Okay, so let's go. So, hi everybody. There's no battery in the microphone anymore, so I'm going to try to speak loud. We can find some battery. We'll start this way, and we'll probably have a microphone soon. So I'm Vincent. I'm an OpenSUSE booster at Novell, and I'm going to speak about the Upstream project, which is a quite new project which we started 2 weeks ago. And so I'm going to explain what it is about, why we think it's important, and why we are doing it in a cross-distro way, and how we are doing it in a cross-distro way. But before telling you all that, I want you to look really with attention at my picture. I want you to see that I'm beautiful. I want you to think that I'm more beautiful than you are. I want you to see how clever I look and all that. And I want you to see this picture where I look really stupid. And the goal is to make you understand that I am accessible. You can come to me after this talk. You can talk to me whenever you want. You can send me an email. I will try to reply to you. I will try to have time for you. So really, I don't want people to just see this talk and then disappear. Communication is important. So, what is the Upstream project? The goal of the Upstream project is really to focus on the workflow of dealing with applications for users. How to install an application, how to find an application, and making sure that from a user perspective, there is nothing complex with that. The user doesn't care about what is a package. For example, if you look at many distributions, usually, for example, in Debian, you can have the package data split in a separate package because it has no architecture-dependent files. And that's the kind of stuff the user really doesn't care about. It doesn't want to know if it requires 2 packages, 3 packages, if it requires to install Qt or Mono or whatever. It just wants to use an application. It doesn't care about packages. And so we want to deal with that. And we want to make it easy. And really, the goal is to answer the need for a user when he says, I want to play 2 Kimi fighters. Or it could be, I want to use Firefox, Inkscape, whatever. But I like to use 2 Kimi fighters as a good example. So for the people, for the people who don't listen to me but like to read slides, this is summary. If you noticed in the first slide, I said the cross-distro way, and then I put a nice OpenSUSE logo and nothing else. So let me fix that. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago with people from Debian, Fedora, Mageia, OpenSUSE, and Ubuntu. We really wanted to have this meeting with as many people from as many distributions as possible because we wanted to solve this issue together. And I'm not going to explain right now why that cross-distro way is better and all that. We are going to have a session of collaboration after this talk. I'm going to talk a bit about how we organize this in a cross-distro way between the 2 talks, but I'm not going to focus on that right now. I'm going to talk about Upstream itself. So those are the people who attended the meeting. We were 15 people. You had people from all the distributions. So after the meeting, we posted a report on blog posts, articles, mailing lists, and all that. And we've read the feedback from various people. We've read articles in the press and all that. And there was quite some confusion by some people, probably because we didn't explain things well. It's our fault. So let me get a few things straight. We don't want to replace packages. We want to build on top of that. That's really important. We don't want to create a new package manager. We want to have something that deals with application. We don't want to have what people call an app store for all distributions. What we want is to enable any distribution to have one place where they can have metadata for applications, and we don't want to force distributions to use one unique place for that. And also, we don't want distributions to share everything. We think it's good to share, but we also understand that there are some cases where you don't want, for example, to use comments from users from another distribution, or you might not want to use screenshots from some distribution for one reason. For example, enterprise distributions might want to really control what appears in the application center. So we really want to just build on top of what we have and provide a good user experience on top of that. Again, for people not listening but studying what I said. Since I only have a really short time frame for this talk, I'll go quickly over the architecture overview. Well, maybe not that quickly. This is the schema that represents more or less what we want to do. There are four parts. There is one part which is really how to build some metadata based on what the applications provide already. I'll go in details for all parts later. There is one part where we ship this metadata. There is one part on the client side to consume this metadata and to provide a good UI on top of that for users. And there's a fourth part which is really about how we handle metadata which doesn't come from applications themselves but from users. That includes ratings, comments, and all that kind of stuff. So very quickly, how this all works. How we built the really static metadata that comes from upstream. We believe that, so first, what is an application? We should define what is an application. We should define a unique way to identify an application across distributions. So we've had several talks about that, several discussions about that, and after a few, maybe not a few hours, but after some time, oh, cool.
Does this work? Yeah.
So after some discussion, we agreed that what we want to use as an ID for applications are desktop files. The reason for that is that applications usually appear in the applications menu, and they already provided a file for that. So we know that the desktop files don't have all the information that is needed for what we need right now, and we'll add metadata in there. We'll help upstream to provide this metadata, and we'll change the desktop file specification to include the fields that we need. Just to answer, some people might think that, all applications might not have a desktop file. It's possible to create a desktop file for everything. So if you think that an application which right now doesn't ship a desktop file should appear in the application center, just add a desktop file for this application. That's easy. So yeah, we extract information from these desktop files. The reason we do it this way is that this is the kind of information that upstream will provide anyway. For example, the description of the application, the version of the application, all that kind of stuff, it can simply be provided by upstream, and so we can simply extract that from the desktop file. So we put all that in a XML file. I'll show you later how it looks like. And this XML file is published on the mirrors. And as you can see, we provide it on top of the existing metadata. So it's two different things. We don't mess up with the existing metadata. We just add a new file that people can download. We also provide icons. So there are several ways to deal with icons in this. Here right now, you can just see that we provide a big table with all the icons from all applications. But we can specify an icon either by specifying a local path to a file or by specifying a new URI to a file. So you don't have to have it done this way, but that's the easy way. And then the third part is that this app data XML file is consumed by a client. So the user will download it with a client. The client will push it in a Xapian database. So Xapian database, for the people who don't know, it's a really fast read-only database, I think. I'm not really familiar with it, but it's really cool, and Debian uses it, and it's working quite well. And based on what we have in this Xapian database, we can display in the software center what people can install and what applications are available. The software center will use PackageKit to install the package that are needed for this application. So the software center right here, this is currently the Ubuntu Software Center. We think it's a good UI. It's not perfect, but it's really a good basis that we can build on top of. The reason we want to use PackageKit is that it's cross-distribution. It can work on all distributions, so we think it's really the right way to deal with package for that. The Software Center, if people don't know, does everybody have seen the Software Center? No? I'll try to do a short demo. Yeah, I'll try to do a short demo because it's really cool. It deals with recommendations. It really tries to abstract the stuff the user doesn't care about and to provide the useful information. And the last part is the OCS server. So OCS is a specification that defines a protocol to provide some social features to the applications. So we believe that with the OCS protocol, we can add ratings, comments, and additional metadata that comes from users and not necessarily from upstream for the software itself. Something which is not mentioned here is the screenshots. The Software Center right now uses the screenshots.debian.net service, and we want to use something similar. We want to share the screenshots if possible. This is being discussed because we also don't want to have everybody abuse one server, so we'll probably have to do it the right way. So that's the overall architecture. It's not overly complex. It's not, really nothing that people couldn't achieve before this meeting. I think that it was really important to get all the people together to agree on that, see that we had more or less the same vision, and agree on one architecture together so that we can work together on that. Instead of having people doing something different for that, then something different for that, and something different for that, well, we would have in the end 4 different solutions. So that would have been bad. Timeline. So during the meeting, we worked on the architecture, but we also wanted to go home with a plan on how to implement all that. So we defined a timeline which is quite aggressive. It's probably too aggressive, and we probably won't respect it correctly, but it's always good to have an aggressive timeline to put some pressure. So the idea is to have, by the end of April, or is it the beginning of April? By April, I don't remember, to publish the metadata. So that's the XML, this part. To have this published by all distributions, if possible. We also want to port the UI, so port the software center to other distributions. So that means having PackageKit being used by the software center. It's not really that difficult, actually. So we think this part should be really doable. By July, the goal is to integrate the non-static metadata. So that's this part, the OCS server. Sorry. And so we want to have distribution provide an OCS server and to have the software center understand OCS so that people can publish comments, publish ratings, see what other users think of applications. This is quite aggressive, but we think it can be done. There's already an OCS server which exists. So we just have to work in each distribution on the infrastructure side to deploy that. And then to also add the features to the software center. And the end goal for us right now is to deliver all that to users by November. Why November? That's more or less for the next distribution cycles. So all the release that will happen at the end of the year. We want to do that. That's quite aggressive, but it can be done. What's blocking us? obviously, what's blocking us is that we need more time. Always. There are lots of things to do. We need more time. And when we went back home after the meeting, we all realized that we still have tons of stuff to do outside of this. So we need more time. We need help from people. So everybody can join. Everybody can help. The overall architecture is, we believe, good. Probably not perfect, but we think we should focus on that. Not try to change it all the time. So just focus on implementing that. And people can help with that. People can help either on the part which is really cross-distro, or people can help implement stuff in their specific distribution, like publishing the application metadata on the distribution servers, for example. Another thing which is blocking us is the CLA from Canonical. I'll go very briefly on that. Right now, if you want to contribute to the software center, you have to sign the contributor license agreement from Canonical. Some people don't want to sign it. I'll let you decide if it's good or bad, but there are people who will not sign it anyway. And there are people who, like me, work for a company, so it's not my decision. So this is a blocker for us. So we're trying to work with Canonical to see if it can be either dropped or changed or whatever. We're trying to fix that, but I just want to mention that it's an issue for us. Right? So yeah, and we need you. All the discussion is on the distributions mailing list. It's public. We didn't want to create yet another mailing list, and we wanted to do that on a place that is well known for now. And if it's too high traffic, we'll move to another mailing list. So, any question on that? I have 7 minutes for questions. 8 minutes.
I think you forgot one blocker, and that is licensing. If you distribute all the different icons in one giant tarball, you will mess up all kinds of different licenses. We were in Fedora, we tried that already. Richard was working on that, and Fedora Legal blocked it and said, no chance.
Okay, so I was not aware of that. That's a good point. What we can do is, if it's not possible to put all the icons together, we can still put them on the website, well, on the server, each separately, I assume. And so we can specify instead of, oh, that's what I didn't show to you.
You forgot XML.
Yeah, I forgot the XML. That's the XML. So that's how you is it speaking up? Yes, I suppose. That's how you define an application in the XML file. So that's more or less trivial. The icon, for that we have several ways to specify an icon. So it's either stock, which is more or less an icon which is defined in an icon thing. It can be local, which is a local icon, a path to a local icon, or it could be URI, in which case it's a path or an URI to an icon. So if it's not possible to group all icons together, we can probably just not ship that big table with all icons and do it separately, like add all icons available on a server. But it's probably going to be a bit annoying from a performance perspective, so we might want to download caches or whatever. We can manage that, yes. First.
I understand that it's by default interesting to just stick to the distribution itself for ratings and comments. But I can imagine that certain users might be interested in actually seeing comments and ratings from other distributions.
Yeah.
So will there be a way to just pull everything in, or is it just that you stick to your distribution?
So what we decided on that is that it's up to each distribution to decide what the policy is. It really depends on the distribution. My personal opinion as a contributor to a community distribution is that we should pull data from other distributions. We should pull the data from other distributions too. That's my personal opinion.
Just a brief comment, but the architecture they imagine actually permits to implement all different policies.
Okay.
So the architecture enables either to reuse the data from other or not to use them or to selectively use them. So that's a very important point.
In the OCS protocol, actually, that's where you specify what you want to fetch.
You can use more OCS servers and federate the results together. So it's no problem. Actually.
So can you share the screenshot again of the XML format? So how do you plan of doing translations?
You're obsessed with that. This is extracted from the desktop files. We don't deal with translations ourselves. So this is extracted data. That's
For big application, desktop file is just a little bit of the project.
It's just
a desktop file for a big application is a very small part of a project. So it's okay for an application, normal application, to say just use a desktop file. For very smaller stuff, which is interesting for users. For example, I don't know, wallpaper package. Well, there are a lot of, the ratio between the work that went on the description and the work that went on the stuff which the user will use is very different. So here you say, if you want your stuff to appear in the application center, just create a desktop file. So just before we had another session where
I know about that.
On package descriptions and translations, that isn't it a lot of duplication of descriptions in many different formats?
So it's two things. Okay, let me answer everything. First, your example is about a wallpaper. It's not an application.
Yeah.
A wallpaper is not an application. If you want to integrate installing wallpapers, it should be integrated in the UI that changed the wallpaper. That's my opinion. From a user experience perspective, that's what you should do. But I can agree that you can have small applications and a desktop file is big enough. I think it's still manageable. A desktop file is not that big, it's not complex, it's really trivial to write one, and it should be upstream, not in the package. That's important. Coming back to having different duplication of descriptions and all that. So I was the speaker last year with Anne, who spoke about the package descriptions and translation and all that. I think, after thinking more about this whole topic, for applications, in general, the descriptions should go upstream anyway. Because if we want to share some data, the data we share is upstream. It's already upstream. So if we need to add to share descriptions, I think we should put it upstream. That's all. So it can be in the desktop file, it can be somewhere else, but in my opinion, it should be upstream. If upstream is dead, then we had talks yesterday about that kind of stuff. But I won't say that, repeat that again. But yeah, I mean, what's important is that we don't duplicate work. I agree with that. We should not.
Yeah, because I made some packages. A lot of work went into extracting descriptions from PDF files.
Yeah.
Because was the format upstream decided to distribute.
We all agree. I'm a packager too, and I hate doing that. And we should push this data upstream so that when one packager does it, other packagers don't have to do it again. Yeah. That's really, if we want to make our life easier, push fix upstream. That's really the solution.
I missed the beginning of the talk, so you may have already said that, but what's the scope of this project? It's a GNOME project, it's a free desktop project. Are KDE people interested to develop the whole UI?
Okay, so
thanks for this question.
Let me go back. It's a big image, so it's slow to clear. Lifting turn view. So it's a cross-distro project. Right now, this part, all this part, so you remove this small part actually. Everything else is not GNOME specific in no way. The UI part, what we define as the reference implementation, I would say, is a GNOME application. The KDE people are working on the KDE applications, which will use all these two. It's called Breadson. It's part of the Breadson project. So it's not desktop specific in any way. So it's cross-distro, it's cross-desktop, and right now, I wouldn't say it's a free desktop project because I don't think it means anything, but yeah. Any other question? No? Okay, so I can quickly, I have 5 minutes. So just to transition to the talk after this one, which is collaboration with manifesto. I want to quickly share some experience about organizing a cross-distro meeting. So I don't know if you've read my blog post about that, but if you've read it, you will already have all this information. But this cross-distro meeting, the idea came at the OpenSUSE conference back in October, and so we had a lot of discussion about creating a app store, marketplace, all that kind of stuff thing. And we didn't want to just recode everything, but on the other hand, people didn't really know if we should contact all the distribution and all that. So I've decided to try contacting people because I know a lot of people in many distributions because originally I'm not from OpenSUSE, I'm from GNOME, so I know many people from many distributions. And all packagers should know many people from local distributions, so that would help a lot. So I decided to contact a lot of people. Like the week after the OpenSUSE conference, I was at UES, so I was able to talk to Michael Vogt about the Software Center, and he was really excited about the idea of collaborating about all that. So that was really cool. I sent an email to Richard Hughes, who is working on PackageKit and was also interested in this topic, and he was also really enthusiastic. Then 2 weeks later, I met Stefano at an event, and then I sent him an email, and he was enthusiastic about all that. And so that was really surprising because the first reaction when I said that we should try to organize a meeting from other people who at the OpenSUSE conference was like, is it possible? Is it going to happen? You know, we don't really do that kind of stuff usually. People won't have time for that. And it turns out that if you contact the people, if you ask them, they want to do it. So it's really the first thing. And then it all went like, how should we organize a meeting? So we had a list of 10 people. We tried to find a good time, a good date, and so we agreed on more or less some dates. Then we sent the information to the distribution's mailing list so that people we hadn't contacted before could also join if they wanted. And that's it. I mean, it was really not that difficult. And all the time, everybody was really supportive of the idea. So I think that's really something that we should learn about. People want to do that if it's a topic that is of interest to them. So. And yeah, I had another slide for that, but I guess it's time to move to the manifesto. So I'll let the stage for Stefano, Jael, maybe yours also, I don't know. Thanks.